in the occupational therapy world, occupations are defined as any daily life activity that a person participates in or engages in. Occupations are influenced by the person's environment, skills, demographics, and mental and physical abilities. Occupation may be done alone or with another person and include any activity from meal preparation to studying for school to sleeping. Occupations are categorized into 8 groups: activities of daily living, instrumental activities of daily living, rest and sleep, education, work, play, leisure, and social participation. An occupational therapist may address any limitation that falls in those categories, which boils down to pretty much anything. One of the foundational beliefs of occupational therapy is that a person should participate in activities that are meaningful to them and hold an importance to them that makes their life worth living every day. A person has the right to finding and engaging in this occupation, but some people have barriers to finding this occupation. What are some things that might limit a person from engaging in their chosen meaningful occupations? What are some ways that an occupational therapist or other health professional may help a person discover a meaningful occupation or break down barriers to engaging in a meaningful occupation?
I believe what you're talking about, what you're asking about, is helping people to find their purpose. Now, I live in New York, as you know, and we have a lot of disabled folks who are living on the streets. And sometimes they'll adopt a corner, like a street corner, that they keep clean. It's to me, it's a very strange phenomenon, but what my friend Marcy says, and I think she's right, is that gives that person purpose. And there's actually a woman who lives near here who will say, yeah, this used to be my uncle's corner, but when he died, I took over. So she has a purpose to sweep that corner and keep it clean. I believe that as an OT, you can help a client to discover what is their purpose, even if it's their purpose in creating a meal for themselves or learning how to cook. What is the purpose of that? The purpose of that is to provide excellent nutrition so that I can keep this body healthy. And that brings me to something else that I think is vital for everyone. Well, it's what I do anyway, and that is communication. How do you actually help your client to communicate what their purpose is, what their passion is, and what will make them happy and a part of society? That's my take on it.
So some of the limitations that come to mind for me that might prevent a person from engaging in their meaningful occupations are disabilities, either physical or intellectual, but ways that OTs or other health professionals can help break down barriers to allow those people to perform their meaningful occupations are through encouragement, specific training that helps them learn how to work around their disabilities to perform these occupations, and helping them use assistive devices that they can then take beyond their OT sessions to help them in their daily lives.
So a major barrier that a lot of people might face to meaningful occupation is socioeconomic status. For example, if people have to spend all of their time, focus, money, and energy trying to meet their basic needs, like putting food on the table and having shelter, then there's not a lot of opportunity to do things that are meaningful to them and allow them to engage and participate fully in the world around them. I think it's important for OTs and other health professionals to advocate for and educate clients like this, to help them get in touch with resources they could use to overcome poverty. And OTs can also creatively work with clients to help them build skills they might need for finding a job and working, child rearing, self-care, and leisure activities. And hopefully these efforts can reduce stress overall in this population and increase quality of life.
So there are plenty of ways people in this world could be limited from their daily lives and their occupation. One way that their lives could be limited are children with Down syndrome, adults with Down syndrome. I'm speaking right now about the children. And children with Down syndrome, when they're growing up and learning about life, some kids have to deal with the limitations of sensory issues, some to deal with the limitations of pronunciation. Some kids be limited by speech, education, having trouble learning in school, having trouble being with other kids, and have trouble also sometimes with their social life. Some ways that would be a physical therapist, a speech therapist, or an occupational therapist. And ways a speech therapist could help is to help learning speech.
So cleaning is an occupation that might be difficult for somebody with a disability. A healthcare professional could help them overcome that obstacle by helping them choose tools and implements that work with their abilities and strength, flexibility requirements, set up a schedule for cleaning so that things get accomplished on a routine basis. A health professional could also help an individual make contact with someone else who could assist them if assistance is needed with particular tasks, particularly anything that might be seasonal or more intensive or require getting up on a ladder or require extra strength.
So when people talk about limitations, they often talk about physical limitations. So I'm thinking about this in the context of one of my meaningful occupations, which is I knit and I crochet, and that's really important to me. So thinking about how other people may be limited in pursuing this kind of occupation, obviously the first thing that comes up is if you have a disability, if you have motor issues, if you have, I don't know, joint pain that would prevent you from doing a lot of the physical motions of it. But beyond that, looking even further, there's barriers to learning and participating in this kind of activity. If you don't have financial stability and you can't afford to, buy yourself yarn every month or two, if you don't speak English and the only people in the area who can teach you speak English, if you have difficulty understanding whatever method of learning is available to you. So if someone can teach you, but you're maybe hard of hearing or deaf or have some kind of communication barrier, that would make it really hard. Even just like with specific people, it can be kind of weird to understand. So if you have someone explaining it in a way that just can't get to you, that could be a barrier. Okay, so breaking down barriers to engaging in a meaningful occupation. So I think a way to help someone discover a meaningful occupation could be to have as part of your practice, um, you know, necessarily including like the exploration of different kinds of activities. And, you know, one of the things in some mental health practice and social work, which I am, is uh, identifying something you want to, identifying a goal that is just for you. So I go into therapy and or I go into mental health treatment and I want to play the guitar. So they try and make that happen for me. So having that as an aspect of whatever practice you do, of saying, what is a goal that you want, in addition to whatever your necessary tasks are, what is a goal you want to accomplish for yourself, um, for your own joy and well being?
When I think about your questions about what limits people to do the occupations that they want to do or finding occupations that they like to do, I can't help but think about the elders in the gerontology class that I am taking currently. And we were just having a conversation last night with them about how when they can no longer do an activity that they've loved doing for most of their lives, and these are very, I guess, advanced and educated and interesting and resourced elders, so it's important, I guess, to note that they find a way to find something new. They all kind of agreed on this, that when they lose the ability to do one thing, they try to find something else. And they are creative and resourced enough to have lots of ideas of other things that they could find to do. A lot of these limitations come from physical changes in their bodies, so they're being limited by maybe arthritis of different kinds, and also just loss of balance, loss of freedom to move their bodies the way that they used to, and not so much cognitively, but cognitively could be another way that people lose their abilities to complete the occupations that they like to do.